Greetings and salutations. I'm a writer, editor, traveler, but most importantly, lover of milkshakes. Milkshakes are the Super Saiyans of desserts, the evolution of ice cream, the answer to are we alone in the universe? And what better way to explore milkshakes than in New York City with me? I'm Randy Winston, and you're watching Milkshake Scholar. On today's episode, we travel to Staten Island, home of Wu-Tang, Staten Island, where George R. Martin looked from New Jersey and said, "What's happening over there? Westeros, Staten Island." To visit Jay's on the Bay and talk with Taylor McGraw, education phenom. Staten Island, Milkshake Scholar, Jay's on the Bay, sounds right. Let's get started. Thanks for having me out here.
Anytime. Glad you came down.
I love the place.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. 5 years?
Coming up on 5 years, yeah.
5 years. What made you open a restaurant?
What made me open a restaurant? Well, I've been cooking my entire life. Family has been in the business. They're all retired now. I went to culinary school. I worked in Midtown Manhattan for a while. Made my way through some of the boroughs, even Long Island. Managed a lot of other people's restaurants, and just thought it was time to go on my own.
Do your own thing.
Yeah, be my own boss.
Tell me about the community that Jay's on the Bay is in. Like what does the community mean to you, and like what have you noticed about Jay's on the Bay? Aside from the food, because
just to give you a little recap and not to go too far into it, this establishment has been here for almost 100 years. It's always been some sort of a food operation or other. So when I took it over, the community welcomed me with open arms. Our first year was a little rough. But it was the community that kept us going that first year, because again, some of the clientele were born and raised in this area, and so they were raised through like 5, 6, 7 different owners of this place.
Wow.
So it means so much to them. It has so much history for them.
Yeah.
So it was just great. Community is the best part, and me giving, I constantly give back in any which way I can possibly give back to the community, and I think that's part of why Jay's has been successful.
That's awesome, man. And like, what excites me is one of my friends that I went to grad school with is actually gonna come, and we're gonna have milkshakes.
Awesome.
So like, I know you from Instagram, and I've seen your posts, and I love your energy. So to be able to come all the way from Brooklyn and experience Jay's on the Bay for myself and have a milkshake with my buddy is gonna be great.
It's hard to get people from different boroughs to come out to Staten Island.
Yo, you got me, man. You got me out here. You got me out here.
Great.
And this is my first time out here, so
awesome.
I'm really looking forward to it.
So Jay's gonna leave a good impression on you.
Oh, yes. I have no doubt.
Hey, Randy, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
How you been?
How was the ride?
It was long.
Joe.
Randy, what's going on,
How you
man?
doing,
How
man?
are you?
Hey, Taylor.
Joe, nice to meet you.
So Joe runs Jay's on the Bay.
Okay.
So this is actually my first time in Staten Island, and I came all the way over here for milkshakes because Joe, you told me about your milkshakes. So I'm bringing Taylor here as well because Taylor's also a lover of milkshakes.
Awesome.
So let's talk about one of your most popular milkshakes.
So one of our most popular would be one of our original milkshakes, and it's going to be the s'mores milkshake. And obviously, s'mores is a classic to begin with already.
I think I saw one floating
Yes,
around earlier.
yes,
That looked good.
that definitely is it.
So what kind of milkshake are you thinking about?
Man, you had me at chocolate jelly ring.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah. Classic. That's what I need.
Let's roll with that. Let's
Yeah.
roll with that. I'm down.
All right. Awesome.
All right.
Can always get more, right?
Yeah. How's that?
Not to cut you guys off, but it just hit me like everything else does. Cannoli milkshake.
Wait, Joe.
That's
Y'all have a cannoli milkshake?
Yeah. So we actually.
He said that like, surprise.
So it's actually not even on the menu yet, and it's only been offered on the special brunch weekly menu for like the past 3 weeks, and that's why it actually slipped my mind.
I think that's what I'm going.
Okay.
Bring an extra spoon on that one. I'm gonna get a little different.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll start off with those.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
What do you think?
I wasn't blowing smoke. Like, this is really good. Like, this is, you know, I drink a fair amount of milkshakes, as you know.
Yes.
I've never tasted anything like this.
Wait, let's talk about the rubric. So,
Okay.
I came up with these 4 measures, and the first measure is flavor. And basically, you're talking about richness. You're talking about like the characteristics of flavor. And then after that, there's flow. So flow is about the consistency of the milkshake, of all the ingredients in the milkshake. So that's another thing in the hospitality. And of course, you're seeing the hospitality here. Like the people are great, the music is great, like it's clean. Like those are all things that I think matters when you're having a milkshake. And then the last thing is suede. And I'll tell you, the word suede came from me listening to this Jay-Z song and thinking he was saying suede. He was actually saying sweet, and he just dragged it. And I thought he was saying suede for all these years, and then a friend of mine was like, yo, you just gotta run with it. You've been saying it forever, you have it on wax, you've been putting it on social media, so you just gotta say it. So suede is the presentation of the milkshake. As you know.
I mean, this is up there.
I mean, I have a cannoli on my cup.
Yeah.
Like, a cannoli.
Yes.
I'm-
I've never seen that.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy, and it's not stopping me from getting to my milkshake. Taylor McGraw, talk to me about how you started working with high school students in New York City. You have the Miseducation Podcast. Talk to me a little bit about that. Why working with kids? Why New York City?
Yeah. So this was straight out of undergrad.
Straight out of undergrad.
So we're talking 2012.
Oh wow.
So I moved here in 2012, and I was placed at a charter school in Harlem, 4th grade.
Yeah.
I was just watching some old videos in my 4th grade class. It's a real trip. But I go in, I didn't really know anything about teaching, but I started teaching. You know, liked it, kind of kept my head down and like really focused on my classroom.
Yes.
So taught for 2 years there, full time. And then at that point is when I said, all right, let me like keep teaching, but also go back and go to the new school and get a creative writing thing going. So I did that. And towards the end of my time at the new school, I was still teaching part-time, and I was starting to think about what can I do next. And what I had noticed in my years as a teacher is that the students are like the last ones to get a say about their education. Like, everybody else has something to say about education. You know, the politicians, the adults, the administrators. Parents, right? But the kids didn't really have a voice. And so I started thinking about, well, how can I like use my media skills, my storytelling skills, and then take that and combine it with education. And so that was the birth of the podcast.
Talk to me a little bit about Teens Take Charge, because you're now like full steam ahead with Teens Take Charge. And for people that may not know about that initiative, like talk a little bit about that as well.
So, you know how sometimes you think you've got everything figured out, and then you meet somebody else, and then you realize that they've got a whole better idea, and they just take it in a new direction.
Yes.
That's what happened. It was actually the two of the first students I interviewed for the podcast, Nelson and Whitney.
Yes, who I met.
Who you met.
They're great.
Went to school in Harlem.
They're now in college.
Now in college. I met them when they were sophomores in high school. And Nelson and Whitney did the interview with me. And then, I don't know, like kept in touch. Like, so a few months later, they would text me and say, hey, Taylor, how's it going? What's going on with the podcast? And I could tell that they were like looking to do something else. They were, you know, like, hey, what else can we do? And so I just went and met with them one day and we were just chit-chatting. And they said, what if we did a live event where we actually got on stage and we could tell our stories directly to an audience? And I said, that's a great idea. And so they started planning it. They met with, pulled in about 6 other teenagers who I had met.
And were these some of the meetings that I had gone to before the big one at the Bronx? Before the big event at the Bronx?
Yeah, so this is early 2017.
Yeah.
They come up with a name, they call it Teens Take Charge, they get the website, the Instagram account, all this stuff going.
Now, what I noticed right away in those meetings is that you allowed them to run the show. Mm-hmm. Like, you gave them a space to meet. Mm-hmm. You brought food, some water, and you gave them a basic framework, and they ran with it. Like the social media, the name of the initiative, the movement, like everything, they did that themselves.
They did that. Yeah.
That's like amazing.
Yeah, and I think the lesson is like adults just got to get out of the way sometimes.
Like give them the resources and they get out of the way.
That's right. And so what happened was it was beautiful. They planned an event. It was in the Bronx, April of 2017, and I think we had about a dozen of them like actually get on stage and tell their story, and it was so powerful just to hear their first-person accounts of what was going on in the school system that most people had no idea. And that's where it took off.
And you had a local politician there as well?
Local politician. We had some folks from the media there, but the real break was after the event, actually. We sent the transcripts to some media outlets, and the New York Times wound up running some excerpts with photos from the event. And so once that happened, everybody was like, whoa, what's Teens Take Charge? Right? And that just kind of took us off. Yeah.
Well, what's one thing that you've learned about yourself from working with the students you've been working with? Or maybe it's something that you've learned about them that you didn't know about them previously.
Well, I mean, you've met them. They're impressive.
Absolutely.
Mind
blown.
Yeah, right. And so I think what they've taught me is that I can read all the books in the world, I can look at the studies, I can look at the research, but unless I've actually lived it and had their experiences, I don't really know what I'm saying? I don't really know what the issues are. Yeah. And I think a lot of adults need to learn that lesson. They need to realize that things like education and housing and poverty, they're very complex, deep-rooted issues, and there's no simple solution. You can't just look at one newspaper article and make a conclusion. And what I see too many politicians doing these days is they see a problem, and then with little to no context or background information, they just immediately jump to, okay, here's what the solution should be. And what they've taught me is that, no, you actually need to listen to the folks who are being affected by the issue and really listen to them before you can begin to make a judgment about what the solution should be. And they should be helping you create the solution. It shouldn't be me, the adult, trying to impose what I think on students.
Thank you so much for coming all the way out here with me.
Thank you, man. It's been fun.
Perfect field trip. I want you to let everyone know where they can go and find the podcast, and also where they can find more information about Teens Take Charge so that they can get involved as well. Because I think there's a lot of opportunities for a lot more teens to get involved with this movement. So
absolutely. So if you want to listen to the podcast, you could just search Miseducation on any podcast app player you got. You could also go to miseducationpod.com and listen to all the episodes there on the website. Teens Take Charge is teenstakecharge.com. Instagram, Facebook, Teens Take Charge. Check out what the students are doing. It's really, really awesome work, and I hope you guys can support it.
I'm gonna get back to this milkshake, but first, I would like to say a big thank you to Joe from Jay's on the Bay, Staten Island, Bay Street. Also a big thank you to Caitlin, the goddess of milkshake creations, for blessing us with all of these crafty, delicious milkshakes. And Milkshake Scholar, Randy Winston, all the way in Staten Island. Who knows? Maybe next we're going upstate, or Pennsylvania, or Atlanta, Paris. I have a passport. I'm out of here.